I want to talk a bit about work-life balance because I think it's something that's misunderstood, or there's an aspect of misunderstanding in it. And I think it's something that many, many people struggle with. And this piece of misunderstanding might make it easier for people. It has done for me, and it has done for many of my clients. And so I wanted to have a talk that you could listen to about that. Many professionals struggle with work-life balance. And it's something that's very close to their hearts because, of course, they care about their professional lives and they care about their families. And they feel that they are in tension because they're both competing for their time and they can never get enough time free for either arena. And so it seems like an endlessly losing battle. And it seems like an unavoidable tension. So we all assume that the best we can do is compromise to minimize the downside in either sector. So don't completely lose touch with your family and don't completely drop the ball at work. And it seemed to be a cost to pay in either realm. What I want to highlight or point to or suggest is that there's a insidious state of mind factor in this that makes it very difficult to sort your work-life balance, because it's something we tend to get feeling conflicted about, and we don't realize that being conflicted is a state of mind, and that makes sorting things out harder, thinking about them clearly harder. And there's another factor too. In our work lives, we get very revved up mentally, and we get very wrapped up in our experience of our work lives. And that's a state of mind issue too. It's a function of perception, and we overlook the influence of that as well. Now, I know that when I talk to people about this, it can sound fairly provocative. So I wanted to give you an example just to illustrate what I'm talking about. I won't be able to show you everything completely in such a short talk, but I do want to point you in an interesting direction that might make it easier. Because such as we see it now, there's a deadlock. It's a no-win situation. No matter how we balance work and life, we're always unhappy with some of it and we're always dissatisfied. And it's kind of a gnarly issue that we never come to peace with, in my experience. The example I wanted to share is my wife and I, and at the time we had one child, were planning a holiday. And it was pretty much on the other side of the world. We were on the west coast of America, and we were planning to go to Fiji, which is almost the other side of the world. And my wife was saying, well, look, we should take a few weeks and go to Australia and look around the area, okay? And I said to her, you must be out of your mind. I can only go for 2 weeks. I have a job, and I have things I need to do in that job. And I gave her a whole list of reasons why 2 weeks was completely ridiculous. And I was rock solid sure I was right. Okay? So she planned the holiday. We went to Fiji for 2 weeks, and then I went back to work and she went to Australia. Okay? So when we're in conversations now, oh yeah, I've been to Australia. You haven't, have you, Aaron? I'm like, no, I haven't. But what was fascinating about it is, after 2 weeks in Fiji, when I was at the airport going back to work and she was at the airport going to Australia, it looked completely different to me. It's like, well, I've come all this way. I'd love to go to Australia. Looking at my work from that state of mind, which was not my work demands were on my eyeballs in a very agitated, stressed, somewhat insecure way, like I got to get it done. I saw it in a very different light. And I could easily imagine going to Australia. And in a way, I wish I'd had the perspective when we were planning the trip that I did once we were on the trip. And once I noticed that happened to me all the time. That when my wife and I were planning holidays from my work state of mind, I would give the absolute maximum time I could possibly afford to give. And it would be, a week, 10 days, 2 at the most. Once I'd calmed down and I was in a different state of mind, I kind of, what was I thinking? I could do another day, another 2 days, sometimes even another week. And it fascinated me that the state of mind that I worked in lacked the perspective to give me an overview of my life and work. Whereas once I wasn't in my job, it's not that I didn't care. I still cared just as much. And I was still just as committed to my job, which I absolutely loved. But my perspective was different. It was more global. It was more intelligent. I had more perspective. And what that clued me into was that I was working in a state of mind that was somewhat insecure, speeded up, and agitated. And when I say insecure, I mean on the subtlest level. You know, we all know we start to feel like our workplace can't function without us. That's a loss of perspective. And once I realized that the state of mind that I was working in was not clarity, it was a state of mind that lacked perspective, I started to relate to it differently, and I started to realize my work-life balance was impossible to deal with from a state of mind that lacked perspective. But it was relatively easy to deal with from a calmer state of mind, or a state of mind that had more perspective, the one that I tended to find myself in on holiday. So what I wanted to suggest in this talk is that our work-life balance is a difficult issue. But like all difficult issues, when we lack perspective, they go from difficult to impossible. So when something starts to seem impossible, and work-life imbalance is the perfect example, really, without more perspective, we're stumped. So in a way, there's no point thinking about it when you're stumped. You need more perspective. And what the One Thought framework points to is our ability to have states of mind with more perspective in work, under the gun, when we're really under pressure. And that gives us hope that these difficult issues that are close to our heart, like work-life balance, the importance of work and the importance of life, our home life and our families, we have the capability to have a clearer state of mind that has more perspective, that has more of what matters to us in mind, with which to sort out these difficult issues